Hello and welcome back to Understanding Crypto. My name is Herve, and every other day here we cover things like predictive analysis, research and tutorials in the easiest possible way on the internet. If that is the type of content you find interesting, be sure to click that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you don't get to miss out on any other important video like this one. So it's been crazy recently. The markets have been in, to say that they've been in some bad state would be a gross understatement. Currently, we have things like IP, Hype, S. That S there is supposed to be Sonic, yeah? This is like an evolution of Phantom, I believe. Form here also doing well. Sky, Saros, Kea, and Fatcoin. I mean, look at the crypto market, man. Back in the day, you would have things like Solana, Polkadot, Cardano, real projects, Near Protocol, Chainlink. These are real projects. What's going on with the crypto markets? I think I should make a dedicated video analyzing, not really technical analysis, but more on the fundamental aspect, like what's going on with this whole thing. We will surely make a video about that in the next coming days. I will make sure to leave you timestamps down below in this video so that you can just skip to the part that interests you the most. All right, let's go to our macro analysis, and we will also touch on some micro analysis. But before that, a bit of backstory right here. So on the 13th of June, Israel is here. Yeah, this is Israel. Israel struck Iran. Well, the whole idea was to strike Iran's nuclear sites and some military commanders and stuff. But they struck Iran. That's the simplest way of putting it. Now, before that strike, Trump actually posted on social media saying that the US remains committed for a diplomatic resolution to the Iran nuclear issue. What's interesting about this is that Iran actually had a deal already. Back in 2015, 2016, Iran was already in a deal that was brokered by Barack Obama. And when Trump came into office, he tore apart that deal, saying that it was not a good deal. He then put sanctions on Iran, and Iran continued enriching its uranium. Now, when Trump became president, he wanted Iran to have a new deal. This time, a deal that he will broker. The talks were going on, and apparently he gave them 60 days to make a new deal. What I find particularly fascinating about the whole issue is that when Israel struck Iran, they just happened to kill Iran's top negotiator. So the guy who was negotiating with the US administration. So from there, Iran retaliated, and it continued ever since. Now, the day after Israel struck Iran, Trump came and said, well, I've given Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I hope that they make a deal now, stop all hostilities and stuff like that. But it's actually counter to what he said before, like just the day before the strike. And then he also did say that he knew about the incoming strike, which again is very confusing because Iran's position now is that, well, we were negotiating with you and your allies struck us and even killed the top negotiator. So what do you mean by you have been giving us chance after chance? So since then, Israel and Iran have been going in this back and forth exchange of fire. And some of Iran's uranium enrichment sites could only be hit by the United States. On the 21st of June, the United States bombed those sites. However, Trump has now said that it's time for peace. Iran should make peace and not retaliate, which is something that everybody doubts that Iran will do, like just stay quiet. Yeah, everybody is thinking that Iran might retaliate. Now, the markets do not like uncertainty. In the case of the Israel, Iran, and now the United States war, it is the Strait of Hormuz. So about 20 to 30% of the world's seaborne oil actually passes through this channel. Just yesterday, the Iranian parliament voted and approved that Iran can now block the channel. It will be, however, illegal. If it is blocked, then the price of everything will go up, which is why for the past couple of days, I've actually been looking at oil. Now with oil, well, I do have a target right here for this thing. And that target spans from $80 to $83. For now, I don't have any higher target than that. It's not to say, of course, that it can't go higher, but this is just my maximum target for oil. During the plummet, BTC actually dropped by 12.20%, which is huge. But if you look at USDT dominance, which is supposed to be the exact opposite of BTC because BTC is trading against USDT, USDT dominance went up by 20%. Now, that's humongous, yeah? but it's not the same as the 12% on BTC. And it's actually what I usually talk about when I say that there will be times where USDT goes up by 20% and BTC only goes down by about 15%. Here, in this case, USDT dominance went up by 20% and BTC only went down by 12%. So where's the 8% keeping BTC afloat? Well, that 8% is coming from BTC dominance. This of course means that our altcoins are bleeding into BTC. Technically, it's still within our topping out zone, and this is just the highest zone that I could see for BTC dominance. It could go higher, but we can't demonstrate that with any type of analysis on this chart. Now let's go to USDT dominance and see what's going on there. On the macro, USDT dominance is still having these lower lows and lower highs. So here we can see that we had higher high here, lower high, higher low here, but lower low, lower low. We've not formed any other. This is supposed to be a lower high right here, but the decision will be made in this particular zone. So we will have to zoom into that. But for now, on the macro, it's still forming the same type of pattern. Yeah, it hasn't changed any structure. It's still having the lower highs and the lower lows. When we zoom into this particular zone right here, we will then see where this thing will eventually go. So as we go to the daily time frame, I think the 4 hourly will actually be best for that. But on the daily, we can already see two clear moves to the upside right here. Let's go to the 4 hourly so that you can see it more clearly. So if we take out this indicator, you will see that from here, from this lowest point right here to that highest point, and from this low right here to this point here, we've had two consecutive moves to the upside, like two full moves to the upside. This second move right here went into the 1.618. It's supposed to hit the exact level right there. If it's not hitting it, then I'm not measuring it correctly. Now it should be hitting the zone here. Yes, perfect. So this is clearly our 3-wave move up, 3-wave move down type scenario. However, we've not had the 3rd wave up yet. So it might be early to believe that USDT dominance has topped out. The ultimate topping out zone right here could mean that USDT dominance goes as high as the 5.80%. This will mean another move down on BTC. But we may not know what that level is on BTC because USDT dominance has not been tracking 1-to-1 on BTC, not even 1-to-2 or even like slightly off. It's completely off. USDT dominance went up by 20% and BTC only went down by 12%. So we may go on BTC and plot the exact same chart thinking that it's going to be, the same, like BTC is going to go down into some particular Fibonacci level, and it never goes there. I will therefore be expecting a move to the upside here because we reached the 1.618. This could retrace even higher. But we have to know that USDT dominance might as well go as high as the 2.618, this 2.618 right here. But that will not mean a correction of the macro trend, however. So if we put this here and we come back to the weekly, it still will not have corrected the trend. So it would be here. It will mean a retracement up to here and a potential move to the downside, which is similar to this right here and similar to this right here. My hope is actually that USDT dominance can do something that looks like so and takes out these lows right here. This is where we have the euphoria for crypto. However, we have to be tracking it and making updates as it goes to the upside because this thing has a danger zone actually, and the danger zone is this high right here. If USDT dominance can take out this high, then it would have corrected the entire trend to the downside, especially if it closes a weekly candle above this particular level at about 6.2%. That would have corrected the trend to the downside. We would have to start praying at that point. But for now, we are still good. Okay, so let's go now to BTC and see what's going on there. For the past couple of weeks, that's 2 weeks in a row, BTC closed weekly candles above this resistance zone, and it was like trying to claim it as support. but it did not. So we now successfully closed a weekly candle below that zone, and that's a full body candle, meaning that you could see a retracement up here, which then gets rejected and another move to the downside. Hopefully it does not happen, but it's likely to happen as so, because this weekly candle close right here is pretty damning for BTC. So yes, we are now below the 2.618 on the macro, which is not ideal for our continued move to the upside. So we are really not in the best position right now on the BTC macro. Let's go to the micro and see if we have some confirmations for perhaps a move to the upside here. So as we zoom into the daily here, you will see two successive moves to the downside as well. Same like USDT dominance, but this time around not as deep. BTC only dumped by 12%. And of course, USDT dominance went up by 20%. As we said earlier, the money is mostly coming from BTC dominance, and that's what is holding BTC here from just plummeting to the downside. Ideally, we see something that looks more like this. Where that will lead to the downside is what we can't know with our current strategy. We cannot know, because if we look here, BTC did not even obey the 1.618. That was obeyed by USDT dominance. So if we want to catch BTC at its bottom, or at the bottom of this whole move to the downside, then we have to be tracking USDT dominance. So I might update whenever USDT dominance meets its own top. We will be sure to make a quick update when that happens. Now, if you take the Fibonacci retracement from the bottom to the top here, you could be suggesting that BTC comes down to 89 to 88,000 and bottoms there, but it's unclear. We don't know if that will be the bottom. Yeah, we have to be keeping track with USDT dominance. Even if you apply the same Fibonacci projection that we used on USDT dominance on BTC here, that now will be giving you 85k as BTC's ultimate bottom. Again, that's unclear if it will be the bottom, because it's not even been following USDT recently. So the most we can do is just keep track with USDT dominance, and we will most likely catch BTC's bottom that way. That is how we know that this is the second move right here. That's how we know that the second move ends here, because that move on USDT dominance met with the 1.618, which is supposed to retrace from there. So that is why we believe the second move here on BTC ends at 99.2. Now, a lot of people seem to call every dump a bear market. When the markets dump, everybody suddenly is saying we are in a bear market. But I do have an indicator that I use here, which if you look, you will see that BTC always follows that indicator in its bear markets. So here is the 100 EMA on the weekly, and each time BTC comes in contact with that 100 EMA, it ends up in a bear market. So that happened here. BTC in 2018, it came to that 100 EMA, and then it ended up in a bear market. Even here, the same situation. BTC came in contact with that 100 EMA right here, and then another move to the upside. But yeah, it did come back into its bear market phase. For now, BTC has not come back to that 100 EMA, so we are still good. Another thing that we have to know is that BTC on the CME does have some CME gaps to the downside. Now we formed a CME gap to the upside, and that CME gap ends at 103.3, and the CME gap to the downside here is at 92.5 to 91k. Are we going to say that BTC comes to the CME gap? Not necessarily, because we can't prove that it's going to go there. Let's change that to 50. 50 is much more accurate for these lower time frames. Most of the times when you see any dump, expect a retracement to the 50 EMA. Yeah, 50 EMA is mostly for retests. If it goes above it, then you will have another big move to the upside. Going above it means closing above it, by the way. It has to close above it. So here, do we have any CME gaps here? We do have a CME gap somewhere around 97.2 to 97.3. Those are the CME gaps, but we have a bigger one at 92.5 to 91.7. But these gaps, we can't really prove that BTC is going to come down into them. we will be monitoring USDT dominance. I will most likely make another video during the course of the week, updating on USDT dominance and suggesting what that will mean for BTC's price. We need to catch those bottoms because I have some coins that I am planning to go long on, some altcoins actually. I was looking at Solana, XRP, and Ethereum. So yeah, that's my idea for BTC at the moment, folks. We will expect a move to the upside, a continuation of this rebound here. Continuation of the move will take this thing right back to 103 to fill the CME gap, and then possibly 104k before we have our next dump or continuation of the rally. But we need to see that retracement back to the upside for BTC. Okay, so I was actually looking at Solana, and my idea for Sol is that Sol should go to somewhere around 115k. So lately Sol has been underperforming the marketplace. Yeah, and this is simply because of the Sol ETH chart. If we quickly go there, you will see that Sol has been in a downtrend on its Ethereum pair. So this is it here, and this is something I tried to explain the other time on TikTok, that all of these coins have their own liquidity pools that govern what their prices will be. So altcoins to Bitcoin pairs. And what I said was that the prices that we see with these alts, so Solana is probably somewhere around $135 now. It's not really about the dollar value. It's actually about the Bitcoin value, most of the times anyway. Because if the Bitcoin value stays the same and Bitcoin goes to the upside, Solana will in turn be worth more in dollars. If you have confusions about this whole, altcoin to Bitcoin value and stuff, let me know in the comments. Then perhaps I will make a dedicated video for that. But it's just to say that altcoins actually depend a lot more on their altcoin pair or Bitcoin pair than their USDT pair. So Solana here has been underperforming on its Ethereum pair, which is why we see Sol not doing well on its USDT pair. This means that traders have been selling their Sol for ETH. However, I think it's nearing its support there, so Sol may still do well for the next coming weeks and perhaps some months. I think it's still going to go to the upside. The idea that it's just going to plummet straight down to here, yeah, that may be far-fetched. So on the Sol to USDT chart, what I was looking at is a particular retracement, this retracement right here. Now, the retracement will be taking Sol to somewhere around $115. So here it retraced at the 0.618 to 0.65, basically the golden pocket. But what I often find with Solana is that it likes to go to the 0.786 Fibonacci level. So most of the times you'll see something that looks like so, move to the upside, and then another move to 0.786 before a move to the upside where you go like so. So I'm actually planning to catch Solana here, but this will strongly depend on what I see with USDT dominance and with BTC. If I don't see clear signs there, then I may not take this trade. But I think at this particular point, this would be a good time to catch Solana. Again, it will strongly depend on how I see USDT dominance and BTC. But if they look okay, then this will be a very good trade, because from here, Sol could go back to the 0.236, which means that Sol goes back to somewhere around 165, with the 0.5 being the first resistance level. So from here, you have a clean 22% move from the 0.786. So yeah, that is basically what I was seeing here with Solana. Now, an interesting thing about Solana right here is that this first move to the upside, so this big move to the upside, might as well have been the first wave. So if it is the first wave, then we are actually looking at a potential third wave move right here. It is somewhat risky to be saying this in the type of geopolitical climate that we have now, but if this is the case, then this would be a very nice trade. But again, yeah, I will be watching USDT dominance. The reason why I'm so concerned about USDT dominance, especially with this setup, is because this right here will only be a 14% move to the downside. That is if it comes down from current price, yeah? So it's not huge. And if BTC is to dump by about 10 to 15%, this will most likely go even lower. So yeah, we will be watching this this whole stuff with USDT dominance. If we can get good confirmation there, then Solana will be a very good play. Yeah, it could go higher. I mean, this here, a 22% move to the upside, just by 10x leverage, then we are talking about 220% gain. So yeah, this would be great if USDT dominance can grant us the visa for this. Okay, another thing that I was looking at is XRP, and this is pretty unusual because some people think that I hate XRP. No, I look at all charts. I don't really care what the coin is. What we can see here is XRP is basically consolidating here like it did in the past, and it's done that many times. XRP is fond of this. It goes up, consolidates, and we have another big move to the upside. Did it here, big move to the upside, came here, consolidated, ended up dumping, and consolidated for a very long time, and now another move to the upside. But it's still above the 50 EMA, the weekly 50 EMA. It's respecting that zone. However, I have some reasons to believe that XRP could end up at $1.63. I mean, even if you're just looking at the head and shoulders here, then XRP should end up somewhere here. $1.75 for XRP. Of course, it's not guaranteed that XRP is going to come as low as this level, but just be careful because XRP could come down here. Yeah, it may not be done. For now, it's holding its support because USDT dominance hit that 1.618. So that's why XRP is holding support here. So that's my idea for XRP. I think it could still come down here. If USDT dominance does that move to the upside as we are suspecting, then you could see XRP coming down into these wicks right here. And that could still send XRP back to the upside. Now, Ethereum is one that I have a very good chart on. And this is actually my best chart. So my lowest zone for ETH, because it got blocked here at 0.5, I made a video telling you that this 0.5 is super troublesome. Most of the times you'll see price do this. It comes, consolidates at the 0.5 and you end up with a dump. Yeah, unfortunately. So Ethereum could come back as low as 1,889. That is the lowest zone that I can see it go. Yeah, 1,889. From there, however, Ethereum could have a ginormous move up to 3,000. Now, that is just the lowest zone. I'm not saying it must go there. It's important to understand this. We already talked about this on USDT dominance, yeah? That temporal top on USDT dominance, the 1.618 that we just mentioned on USDT dominance a while ago, could be its main top. It could be that this is the biggest move that it's done and it's ended. You know, Trump makes peace with Iran and stuff and everybody goes home singing Kumbaya. That could be the case. But ideally, USDT dominance should come up here. But it might as well be that this was its main target and we see it come back to the downside. In that event, then XRP or Ethereum would have bottomed at this particular level right here, and the low there is $2,111. So yeah, this is the lowest zone we can see for ETH. Worst case scenario, it comes back into this our accumulation box right here, but I can't suggest that it's going to go there. I don't have any analysis to suggest that it's going to come back into this accumulation zone. The analysis suggests that Ethereum comes back as low as 1,889-ish. And then we have another big move to the upside, but we will update if we do have this downfall right here. Ideally, it comes down to here, and then we continue our move to the upside where we surpass this 0.5 and head towards 3,700. So that would be the main case for Ethereum. This zone right here is the maximum resistance zone for ETH, because after this, then we will start to be expecting things like 7,000, 11,000. But this zone right here between 3,700 to 4,000, that would be the maximum pressure zone for Ethereum. Yeah. Some say that ETH is not going to go to 5,000. You know, it's been trading at this $2,000 range for a very long time. Some people don't believe that it can do that. But I don't have reasons to believe that it cannot do that. So until it proves to me that it will not go back to the upside. I will just have to believe that it will. All right, that's basically it, folks. Thanks so much for watching. I will be bringing you some very interesting videos during the course of the week. I have some really good topics that we will explore, but until then, make sure to click that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe.